Picture at Los Angeles 2024.
Oh, wait, I'm not ready. I don't.
Leave it in. Leave it in.
Oh my God. Okay. Welcome to Out on the Lanai, the only Golden Girls podcast you're ever going to need to listen to. I'm a mess, clearly. No, I'm HAlanScott / Sadie Pines.
I'm Kerri Doherty. I really hope this is someone's first listen, this episode.
I do too.
Today we are doing a Beyond Golden Girls episode where we cover the many film and TV projects that the women did outside of the Golden Girls during the course of their illustrious careers. And today we are watching a self-described trailer trash treasure starring Rue McClanahan, which is the 1963 black and white film 5 Minutes to Love. We
talked about this on a previous episode, a couple episodes ago, right?
Yes, and yeah. I will get into the reason why, because I have got a treasure trove of wild bullshit to talk about this movie. But before we get into all of it, we've got a little bit of housekeeping. We got some really exciting stuff coming up in the GGVIP Club over on Patreon. On this week's Rusty Anchor Happy Hour, we are watching a really funny TikTok video wherein a woman, I guess you could say she sort of blows a hole in the fabric of the Golden Girls universe.
While eating Wendy's.
Sir, this is a Wendy's. And then there was so much drama because a very well-known Golden Girls writer responded to it. And we're going to talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's a little bit of drama. Not only that, if you're in the GGVIP Club, we're doing another live watch-along of a Golden Girls episode. We do these once a month. They're so much fun. We're doing it this Sunday, August 25th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Everybody who's in the GGVIP Club, $8 a month tier, you voted on the episode. We're going to be watching the season 1 episode, Stan's Return.
Oh.
It's a good one. We gave every episode, we're like, what shitty boyfriend episode do you want to watch? And that's the one they chose.
I feel like it also ties in a little bit to the TikTok that we're talking about in the Rusty Anchor today, too, about some of the questions about.
It does, because it involves
so
Dan and Morothy.
This whole week is very Stan and Morothy.
It's very Dan and Morothy. So you can sign up for the GGVIP Club at patreon.com/Golden Girls Podcast. It's free to join, but you get most of the perks at $5 a month at $8 a month tiers. That's as low as $1 a week. That is less than 10 cents a day for God. 2 hosts, which means we cost less than 5 cents per day.
That's
per
how much
host.
we value ourselves.
That's how much we value. We are each less than a nickel a day.
I feel like we need Sarah McLachlan's In the Arms of an Angel, Sally Struthers moment happening here. Like this
Can't afford it.
This is what we need. For just $1 a day, you could survive with us.
Yes, for less than a nickel a day, you can help pay the bills of 2 struggling people in the entertainment industry. But also, guys, if you pay for a full year, it's way less than that. So it's way less than a nickel a day.
Oh, also,
I guess
too, I just want to clarify one thing, too. You're really not even paying our bills because it's essentially just to keep, the podcast going in terms of all the things that we have to do in terms of the digital stuff. You know what I mean? The platform we record on and the editing and all the things. It's just there's a lot of moving parts to making this look as clean and smooth as we hope it does look for you. So basically, our take home at the end of the day each month comes
is the
to
cost
right
of
around
what it takes to run the podcast.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So, just be mindful of that.
It covers our overhead.
And we're so grateful for everyone who supports us, both if you are on the Patreon or if you're not on the Patreon, because, we love doing this and it is such a wonderful part of our week that it doesn't even feel like work. So we are so grateful that you are here in any capacity you choose to be here.
Yes.
Yes.
The last thing I want to say before we dive into some bullshit is this is the last day to sign up for my TV pilot writing course. We've got like 2 spots left, I think. It's 6 weeks. Ooh. It's over Zoom. I will teach you how to transform your life experiences into a killer pilot script. It's almost sold out.
Ow.
I will read your work. I'll provide feedback. It's super fun. You can check it out at blueprintscreenwritinggroup.com. We'll link to it in the show notes. Last day, like 2 spots. So if you want to be part of that, please sign up because I would love some Golden Girls fans in that course.
Highly recommended. Highly recommend it.
Okay, so 5 minutes.
Talk about how good I look before we go into it.
Yes, we can talk about it. Yes,
look at how good. I just want to say right up top about this is not. I'm pulling a Blanche here. I'm fully if Blanche was alive and kicking and like thriving in 2024, I feel like Blanche would be a beauty influencer, and that might be my future as well, because I have been obsessing over certain products and playing with different things lately in terms of how I look as good as I can on this here podcast platform / YouTube. And one of the combinations I have found is this new Dior stick that is just everything. It is literally everything. I can't stop raving about it. It is gorgeous. So that's my secret.
What do you use it on? What part of your body?
My face.
Like, I know your face, but where in your face?
No, I use it on, like, it's essentially my foundation. And then I do a combination of that and this glow stick from Charlotte Tilbury, and then a little bit of the Dior concealer, and then of course some bronzer and some contour and all the things. But like, I've been trying to find this balance of like, how can I look as youthful and wonderful and hot like Blanche would want to look? If Blanche was hosting a podcast, what would she do? That's what I do. That's what I'm doing. That's where I'm at in my life. I'm trying to podcast like Blanche would podcast. And I feel like Blanche would take a lot of time to get ready. And I've done that. I do that every single week for this podcast. And so I just wanted to acknowledge to myself how good I look looking back at myself.
You do look great. You're very dewy.
Yeah.
And I agree with you that if Blanche were doing this podcast, she would be sitting there like also looking dewy and glowy and gorgeous with a great lip hue on, and she would be drinking a sensible shake.
Yeah, it's true. I'm not drinking a sensible shake. However, I am drinking a wonderful glass of tea with the beautiful Divine on my teacup.
Ah, Divine. Love a John Waters gal.
Yes, which this is very fitting for what we watched today, because this trailer
very
trash,
fitting.
I mean,
yes.
that is John Waters would be appalled kind of a little bit by this. I feel like maybe not.
Yeah,
maybe not.
This was like it was like somebody took just bad theater and was like, let's give it a John Waters kick, but like not really.
Explain
I don't know
how we got here.
Okay. Here's how we got here, guys. So recently on an episode of the Rusty Anchor Happy Hour, we broke down all of the marriages of the 4 women, and we were looking at wedding photos of all of them.
It's a great episode. Go back and watch it. It's
great
really
episode.
Yeah.
And Rue, who we all know was married 6 times, was for a short time married to an actor named Norman Hartwig, or Hartwig, depending on who you ask.
Yeah.
We could not find any photos of her and him together. We could not find any photos of this man on the internet. But what we knew from IMDb is that they had both starred in a movie called 5 Minutes to Love. Mm-hmm. We pulled up this poster, and I encourage you all to Google it now.
It's wild. If you're watching on YouTube or on Patreon, you'll be able to see it. I'll put it on the screen.
It's a poster of like it's Rue McClanahan's face is huge on it. It like hovering at the top of the page. It says a trailer trash treasure. There are like 2 people arguing at the bottom, like a man and a woman like yelling at each other. And you can tell clearly that they made later on, when Rue became very famous, they made her face giant in this poster because
she is not the star of this movie.
She is not the star of this motion picture. Not only, you can tell like across the board, once Rue became famous, they really tried to market this movie around her, because on the Wikipedia page, it says, also this movie had a million different titles before they settled on 5 Minutes to Love. On Wikipedia, this is what it says. 5 Minutes to Love, originally known as The Rotten Apple, Junkyard Love, and It Only Takes 5 Minutes, is a 1963 American drama film directed by John Hayes and starring Rue McClanahan as Poochie, a woman who lives in a junkyard.
Poochie.
So that's not what this isn't. This isn't a movie about Poochie.
No, it's not. Although Poochie is a great character in this movie.
Poochie is a wonderful character. I also have to say, for any 80s girls out there and boys, I don't know if you remember Poochie as a little like dog character with pink ears. I had like a Poochie themed birthday party once.
I don't remember this.
I for a minute I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to Google an image, until I remembered that I have every single diary and journal I've ever owned my entire life. My very first diary I got in 1989 was a Poochie diary.
And you have it. Oh my God, I'm obsessed.
That is Poochie.
Read just a few sentences of the first entry.
I'm not. I'm going to save it for the Rusty Anchor happy hour.
Oh, okay.
If you're watching the video version of this on Patreon, you will get to see it.
Yeah,
and I will be reading a few entries from my Poochie diary.
And
on the
might I
Rusty
just
Anchor
say
happy hour.
also, go subscribe to us on YouTube because it is fun to watch us because we show the clips and stuff from this film. You can get these episodes on the Monday after the episode drops, but then also on Patreon as well. So like,
yes, and Patreon, you get them that day.
The video is fun though. The video is fun.
The video is really fun.
Yeah, so you can see the
makeup. IMDb has a more accurate description of this movie, which you kind of need it because it is really hard to watch. And it's not because it's in black and white. It's not because it was a movie that came out in the 60s and the pacing is different. This movie is weird and disturbing, and the entire movie is just like men screaming monologues and like waxing poetic. It's bizarre. Okay, here's the IMDb description so everybody can follow along. Ben, Edna, and their baby daughter are headed to California when their car breaks down, and Ben ventures off to the junkyard in search of a spare part to fix it. Coincidentally, the police have just accused seedy junkyard owner Harry of selling stolen auto parts.
Marry Harry.
And Harry claims he gets his cars from someone else. Ben wanders into the junkyard just in time for Harry to frame him and use him as a scapegoat. When Ben doesn't return after a long time, Edna goes looking for him and is chased around the junkyard by Harry's odd, dim-witted friend Blowhard. She's not really chased around. She is assaulted.
Yes.
Now, the movie is called 5 Minutes to Love. We have both seen this movie.
Not much love.
Why is it called 5 Minutes to Love?
I mean, okay. Here's the thing. I am a cinephile, if you will, and I'm a devotee of the TCM, Turner Classic Movies. So I'm in with the vibe of a classic film moment, and I understand films like this and how they got made and where they, what they were about and all of those things. Like I get the process of something like this, and I even get the tone of this film. And in films that have like this kind of title with that kind of story, it often came down to the title never meant anything to the film. It was all about selling the film. And so like the business was less storytelling and more marketing. You know what I mean? And like this film is clearly all about dude marketing. It is all about, let's see these dudes yell and scream and be shitty to women. Like that is literally what this film is about to me.
Right, but if that's who they're marketing towards, why would you have the word love in it? Doesn't that make it seem like it's a romantic movie?
No, because I feel like back then, people had a different approach to sort of love stories in film. And also women in film were very different because female actors were very powerful in Hollywood. They actually became less powerful as the years went on into the 70s, 80s, and 90s when the male-dominated action flicks and everything kind of took over. But if you think about it, from post-war Hollywood, now I'm getting all film history here, but like during World War II, with so many of the men gone in and fighting in the war, so many women like Bette Davis, Joan Crawford, Katharine Hepburn, they became these powerhouses on cinema, and they became sort of like industries in and of themselves. And that kind of maintained for a good long while, where we loved the melodramas of female stories, and we loved them with Ray Burke a couple episodes with Susan Hayward and I Want to Live. Like those films were big and they were female led, and this is not a female led film. But what I'm saying is that like there was an openness to sort of the idea of what a love story, quote unquote, is. And to these dudes, this is their love story, and it's fucked up. And it shows you how fucked up some dudes were in the 60s.
Like, if I'm,
Wait, should we just get into it? Because I feel like we just need to get into it at this point.
Yeah, I think we should just get into it.
Yeah, we'll take a break. We'll come right back with this very strange film, but it's going to be an entertaining chat.
Okay, the last thing I want to say before we get into it is when we talk about Rue McClanahan's career at this point and sort of what she had done, Rue had not done much at this point. She had done a TV series called Love of Life. She had done one episode of a show called The Aquanauts.
She was mainly in theater at this point, and she was working with Dustin Hoffman, and she was in that realm. And what I find so fascinating about this film and her career at this point is that she was a hungry actress, and you do see her talent in this film. You do see where
she is so good in it,
and how sexy she can be, because they definitely leaned into her being sexy, but also how she used that sex appeal to heighten her own performance. You almost see like a younger Blanche in a way through some of this performance. Like you see little bits of that. And what I love about... She was
very flirty.
Very flirty. And what I love about Rue McClanahan in this is that, like, you see sort of where she's going, but also you also see like a hungry actress who saw the opportunity to be in a movie and probably jumped at it because she probably didn't have a lot of access in other areas to do these kind of things. And so, you know, she wasn't like B, who had the access of being married to who would become a very successful director, or like she didn't have those kind of connections. So this is literally her being a working actress at this time.
It's her. Yeah. Her performance is absolutely incredible. I also noticed that in 1961, she had an uncredited role in a movie called 5 Minutes to Live. So
lots of time clocks happening with her career at that point.
Lots of clocks happening.
I have a feeling when this film came out, it was not called 5 Minutes to Love. It was called something else.
Well, like I said, it had all those other names.
Yeah.
So maybe that was the one that they settled on. So what's funny about this movie, again, which is in black and white, it opens like a PSA that's like, hey, everybody, this is a bad movie.
I mean, isn't that wild that it literally had it almost, I thought it was going to be a comedy at that point.
I thought it was going to be a comedy too. It opens with the lead actor, Paul Lader. He's addressing the camera as himself. He's like, hey, everybody, it's me, actor Paul Lader. I read the script. It was garbage. I didn't want to do this movie until I read the statistics about how many shitty garbage people there are in the world. So I decided this movie had to get made so that there are less shitty garbage people in the world. And what's funny is that he is one of the writers of the movie. So it's very like, it feels like it's very self-aware in all of its bad glory, but I don't know, because then the movie itself feels like it takes itself so seriously.
Yeah. Garbage.
So Paul Lader plays Harry, he's the junkyard owner. This is like a bottle movie. The entire movie essentially takes place in a junkyard for the most part.
Yeah.
Paul has two cronies that work with him at this junkyard. One is named Blowhard, who looks like if David Arquette and Jeff Daniels had a baby.
That's a good baby, actually.
Look at a photo of him again and tell me that doesn't look like if David Arquette and Jeff Daniels had a baby.
I see it.
This Blowhard likes to do push-ups and dance in the junkyard. He likes to spray himself with the hose. He's like very sexual and he hates women.
Oh, well, homosexual much?
Well, actually, in the first scene, there were definitely I couldn't tell the men apart. The first scene was so dark in this movie.
I know, they do. There are so many scenes where I'm like, wait, which one is this?
It was so, they all look alike. All of the men look alike in this movie.
Yeah.
And I had such a hard time telling them apart. So the other crony is a guy who looks like if BJ Novak had a kid with Buster Keaton.
That's a weird combination.
Yeah, but I actually thought he was kind of handsome. But this is the guy, I think this is Rue McClanahan's husband, the guy who played.
Yes.
He plays like that annoying guy in college who's also always like getting drunk and like pontificating and philosophy. And you're just like, dude, shut up and like watch Death Becomes Her with us while we get high.
Yeah.
So those are like his cronies.
Very specific, Kerri.
I know. I
feel like you just had a memory.
So yeah, no, I didn't. I did have high school though. Oh, this boy I had a crush on after theater at our rap party, sitting on a bed at Laura Linehan's house, and he was playing "Blister in the Sun" by Violent Femmes on a guitar. Oh, and he was an actor. He was an actual actor. He was like the only actor. He was like a famous actor, like the only famous actor who ever came out of my town. I don't think he ever knew I had a crush on him, but then we became friends afterwards. He was older than me.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll read all about it in my Poochie diary. So what was I going to say about this movie? It was so dark. Oh, what I was going to say is I'm actually curious to know what your experience was watching this movie, because I was watching it on my laptop while Stan was watching SVU. He's just been like blowing through SVU. It's like his comfort show right now.
Yeah, I get that.
And I was like so bored while I was watching this movie. I kept like looking up at the TV, and there was an episode of SVU, like Sarah Hyland like murdered a girl, and it was like really dramatic from Sarah Hyland from Modern Family. And I was like, oh, this looks way more interesting. So I just found myself like drifting and watching.
I had so many moments, and the thing is like I can get really lost in a story. I'm very good about that. And this, I did not get lost in the story. And I
got lost on the story.
Yeah, yeah. I was watching it, and then I too would get distracted, and then I would come back, and I would be like, "Do I need to rewind?" Probably not.
No.
And I just kept going. And I literally was like, I'm gonna let Kerri drive the ship on this one. I don't know if I got this one. Because like there were so many moments where I was like, can't we just talk about Rue's scenes? Which we are. We're primarily talking about Rue's scenes.
We're gonna really float through the rest of this. But the opening scene is Harry Blowhard and BJ Novak. They're stealing a car for its parts. Like I said, it was so dark. I was like, I don't know what's happening right now. And I think there's like there is a look, I think, between like Blowhard and BJ Novak at the end of that scene where I was like, oh, is this going to be like a beautifully homoerotic film cinema motion picture? But it was not.
No.
Then we meet a man named Ben who's hot. And he is fixing his car on the side of like a railroad track, and his wife is there. And this character of his wife, Edna, she's treated as if she's a nag in this movie. But like all she literally wants is to live in a house and not a car because they have like a 1-month-old baby, which like I feel like isn't too much to ask of a woman.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, no. I do have to say I don't know if this is the person who played Ben. I really hope it is, because the person credited, Will Gregory, for playing Ben. There's a picture of Will Gregory, who's a musician and record producer. I don't think it's the same Will Gregory.
That's a different William Gregory. You're talking about the guy from like Goldfrapp.
Yeah, because that hair is incredible. And I was like, wow, he's the hair.
No, that's a different guy.
But it's so funny that he's credited. Like if you Google it,
like I know he is credited.
He must be embarrassed.
I mean, I don't know. I might just be like, oh, that's like a funny thing. So anyway, Ben tells his wife, he's like, look, I have to get like a thing for the car. Let me just like walk around and see if I can find a place to get it. And he wanders upon a junkyard and he's like, hey, I need this piece. And then he just ends up staying at the junkyard for like the entire day. Yeah. He just kind of wanders around. He goes inside. And this is where we meet Poochie. We're going to play this moment of him meeting her. So when we meet her, Rue McClanahan, it's just like a junk room, and he goes inside and she's sort of behind this like sheer curtain, and she's sitting in one of those dryers at the salon, with like the hair dry over your head, and she's reading a magazine. Like the structure of her face, her skin, her giant eyes. She almost reminded me of Keira Knightley, weirdly.
She's so
I don't know why.
Expressive. Her face is so unique.
So expressive.
Yeah.
And she is so hot. Like you have to watch the video version of this. You have to watch this movie. I think you can watch it on, what is it, Plexi?
You can also watch it on YouTube as well. There's a cut on YouTube. They're not good quality, so don't think you're getting masterpiece here. But like, you can find it out there, guys.
There's an app called like Plexi or Pluto. Anyway, you can watch it on that with ads. Yeah. But we have to play this opening. She is so. I kept telling Stan. I was like pausing and I was like, "Look how hot Rue McClanahan is. She is stunning." All right,
stunning. Here's the clip.
Let's play that.
It's not fair you sneaking in here like that.
Thanks.
Oh, Harry buys it, see. I can drink all I want.
Well, like I told him, I just want to get my car running again.
Well, he's got lots of parts. I don't know why you couldn't get one. He's got every kind of part from every kind of thing. I mean it, every kind.
Kind of nuts, isn't he? I mean, he acted screwy or something instead of wanting to sell me a part.
Harry? He's got money even stuck away in the dirt.
You aren't married to him, are you?
No, I ain't married. Harry ain't married. Not that he's not all right.
You work for him?
Oh, just hang around.
You mean you're his girl?
No. What do you mean, his girl? If you mean, am I a girl? Yes, I'm a girl. Don't you believe it? Don't you believe it?
What a great pivot to that flirt.
The way that made me bust out the fan. It made me bust out the fan because as soon as she was like, what? Oh, you mean me, a girl? You think I'm a girl? Like, I'm gonna start doing that as Sadie. I'm gonna literally go up to someone and be like, you think I'm a girl? You want me to be a girl? I'll be a girl for you.
I love that. And then only like the hardest of hardcore Golden Girls fans who have seen this motion picture would get that. She was so close to saying marry Harry, marry Harry, marry Harry in that scene, by the way.
I know. And she looked so good in this scene. And I mean, it just oh my God.
What was she wearing? She was wearing heels. And is that a house coat?
Yeah,
I don't know what
it was kind of like it looked like a house coat / like pajama thing. It looked very sort of like, oh, I'm getting my hair done. I don't want to wear anything crazy. And she did have almost the Blanche heels. It was Blanche heel height in that so Blanche wore these little kitten heels that were kind of mules, and they just were flip-floppy heels. This wasn't quite a mule because it had a strap at the back of it, so it was like a traditional heel. But it was very Blanche in the height and the heel as well, which makes me think, there's a lot more of Rue McClanahan and Blanche than we ever realized.
I think so. I bet she brings her own heels. I also loved that she rebuffs his assumptions that just because she hangs out with Harry, she must be his girl.
I know.
And she even goes on, I didn't want the clip to be too long, but later she's just like, why can't I just be a girl who likes herself or, likes other girls, lesbians? She didn't say lesbians, but she said, what if I'm a girl who likes other girls? I was like,
yeah. Well, and the thing is, what's so interesting about this film, and I kept thinking about this because this is like a trailer trash film. It isn't, obviously it's not a stag film because it's not like porn, but like there is a flirtatious sexual element to it that went beyond the standards of what was allowed in mainstream movies at the time. So like this film probably wouldn't get a wide release because of the censor. Like it wouldn't do very well. I mean, up until that point, there had never even been they didn't have a rating system back then like this. They had an X rating, of course, and Midnight Cowboy was the first film to win. Brenda Vaccaro in Midnight Cowboy was the first Best Picture to win that was X rated. So like before that, they all were very sort of like the standard everyone could watch. And this film does teeter into the playful sexual energy of what the possibilities of these women and they're sort of wooing them in the way that they speak. And her character is definitely doing that, is very suggestive in how she speaks. And it's intentional to get the male audience members to be like,
well, clearly.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, clearly.
And maybe some of the female audience members too. Who knows?
Lesbians. Could you imagine, do you think an X-rated movie will ever win Best Picture again at the Oscars?
No, because I could see an NC-17 film. We don't really have an X rating anymore, but I could see an NC-17 film possibly winning if it's NC-17 for reasons other than gratuitous sex. You know what I mean? Like I could see that, but it's highly unlikely. Our films, of course. I mean, they win all the time.
Sure.
Yeah, but no, it would be rare.
Well, a little while later in the movie, we learn that Poochie has a daughter and an ex-husband who she ends up telling. I think I actually have we have it there. She ends up telling a story about how her ex-husband dies, which we'll play in a moment. Yeah. She's still talking to Ben. The thing is that Ben is like dicking around at this junkyard while his wife and baby hang out in the hot blazing sun by their car on a railroad track. Like #bad dad, right?
Yeah,
like he's a bad dad.
The men in this film in general are bad. They're bad.
They're all bad.
I mean, everyone in this film was basically bad, but the men particularly are bad.
They're particularly bad. But I do want to play this moment now where Rue tells the story of how Poochie tells the story of how her ex-husband died.
Yeah, of course.
Wait a minute. I was 8 months pregnant. He couldn't wait. 8 months pregnant. He couldn't wait around night, so he went out. Went down to South Hoover Street, looking for a fast 5 minutes.
Well, doesn't that prove what I said? There's more to it than 5 minutes. If there wasn't, you wouldn't feel that way about it.
I don't feel anything.
Well, what do you think? It can be all like dogs or something? You know that. You feel it.
Oh, we'll feel some way about it. He was down on South Hoover Street, and the knife sliced across him here. So when he straightened up, it was somebody. I don't know, when he straightened up, the cut parts of his stomach came out in his hand, so he had to hold him, keep him from falling. And then they had him in the hospital with the stitches holding everything in, sewed him up with a metal wire. But then the infection bloated him till the stitch place turned green, and he died.
I'm sorry.
And he died.
That's a horrible way to die.
It is.
I worry about things like that. Like, I want to die like in a normal way. I would hate to have to be like, oh, he just had a normal surgery and then he died, which is like that's not normal. Like, I want like old age, you know what I mean? Or like even a heart attack, I'm like fine with. But like, I mean, I'm not, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be like, oh yeah, he went in for like a root canal and then he died. And it's like, no, that would suck.
I know. So preventable.
Yeah.
I have to say, in this scene, I love Rue McClanahan's prop work. The whole, because on the Golden Girls, I always love it when she's talking and she's either doing her nails, like she's filing her nails. Anytime when she's like eating a jar of olives and she's playing with them, I love her prop work.
Her and B. Arthur had amazing prop work. They knew how to maneuver the things around them to give a scene flavor.
Yeah, and it just gives you business to do. It's fun.
Yeah.
And the whole time she's talking, she's nonchalantly fiddling with I couldn't tell what it was. It was I was like, is that a makeup tin? Is that a broken snow globe? Like she's at a junkyard. There's just bullshit everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
and
good.
then also I liked in the scene, there was a quick moment where she got mad at Ben and then he kind of calls her out on it and she's like, I don't feel anything. So you can tell she's really got some walls up. This Poochie.
This one, Poochie has layers.
And then, and again, Ben he just keeps checking in on her. At one point, she puts on the tightest jeans. She's looking at her butt in the mirror. She puts on a shirt that has one button. So her midriff is exposed. And finally, I feel like Ben is kind of okay, this is something's happening here. So he's like, I gotta go. And he goes to leave. And she's like, what? Don't you like me? And I was like, Blanche Devereaux does not sleep with married men.
Well, does she or doesn't she? I don't know. We don't know. I guess we'll find out in the next segment because we need to take a break. Poochie.
That was really good.
Thank you. Thank you. Drama.
And we're back talking about 5 Minutes to Love, our favorite new trailer.
5 minutes to love.
Treasure.
5 minutes to love.
So some bullshit happens. BJ Novak has a really long rant, and then suddenly we just see
BJ Novak?
Not particularly.
Yeah,
Do you?
don't either. There's something about and the thing is, I don't dislike. I don't know him. But I feel like because I didn't like his character on The Office, I then don't like BJ Novak, and I feel like that's mean-spirited, and I don't mean it to be that way, but there's something about him I don't like, and I have the feeling it has to do everything with his character.
How about, why don't we just say, I'm open to BJ Novak? Sort of reframe it in a more positive way. I'm open to BJ Novak. I'm open to, what's the guy that played Ted Mosby? I'm open to you.
Oh. I guess I'm open. I don't know. It's a weird name too. I don't like the name either. I don't know. There's lots of things not to like, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. We're open.
Yeah, we're open.
So So suddenly Ben is handcuffed and there's like some investigators who have like come to the junkyard because they're like, Harry, who's stealing all the cars? And
This
Harry's
is when
like,
I got
this
a snack.
guy.
This is when I got a snack. I'm sorry.
I was so bored.
Yeah. Hour and 20 minutes of just like, what's going on?
So apparently the way that like I'm not going to go full CSI on this one, but the way that investigations work is when the cops show up to your business and say, hey, we hear you're selling stolen stuff. You have stolen stuff here. Did you steal the stuff? And he goes, he did it. They go, okay. And the cops just beat that guy up.
Yeah.
And they literally handcuff him. And he's like, I'm just a customer. And they're like, too bad. They beat the shit out of him. And then there was one of the cops literally says, yeah, that's it. Give him the old justice. I was like,
give him
what
the
are
old
we watching?
Justice. 5 minutes to have.
Let's not praise police brutality, my friends. So anyway, then the poor wife, Edna, who's been Ben's wife, who's been out in the hot blazing sun with her baby.
She's gone through it. She has gone through it, this movie.
She's just like, I just don't want to live in a car in the hot summer with my baby.
No.
So she finally shows up and she's like, hey, is my husband here? And they're like, yeah, but he left. He's probably gone forever. And this woman, this actress, she is holding a real baby in the sun in a real junkyard. I was so worried for this baby.
Yeah, I know.
I was very worried.
I want to know whose baby it was.
Whose baby? Who lent their baby?
Yeah. Who gave this person a baby?
We all know on the Golden Girls, right? Which is an indoor studio with air conditioning, with breaks.
Oh,
they always use dolls. Are you telling me in 1963 they couldn't use dolls?
They couldn't even get a set for this movie. This is probably at a real junkyard.
This was 100% a real junkyard.
Yeah.
So Blowhard, which is the David Arquette, Jeff Daniels guy, he's like, yeah, your husband was here, but he left. I'll fix your car. And then
I'll fix you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he ends up a little bit later, he ends up like threatening her. He's getting like very aggressive with her.
She has a baby.
She runs away, leaving her baby in the car. And then there's like a 20-minute chase scene with the loudest, like Benny Hill, like
That's how
volume
you can tell
music.
This movie was made for men to essentially get hard to, because that they couldn't show porn, so they just showed what they could, which was action, sexual abuse, and like sultry women talking about sultry things and whatever. That's Rue's part, but like. That's literally the 20-minute chase scene was to get dudes a break between their boners, essentially.
I don't know. I feel like it just gave them more boners because, like, depending on what these men like, this man, he chased this woman around. I mean, she did eventually stab him with a broken piece of glass.
Good.
Finally.
Good.
But then, so she finally runs back to the car, grabs her baby out of this hot car, and then the most disturbing thing to me, there's a shot of this woman running for her life out of this junkyard, full speed, with a screaming baby violently bouncing up and down in her arms. I was like, where are the people who protect the children?
There are not in this movie.
Like, get a union.
That baby is suffering today.
That baby
we need
was
to look
like
up that baby.
Bouncing. I know. I need to, if you are that baby, then you need to reach out.
This podcast, call us.
You're listening to this podcast. Please let us know that you're okay.
Of an angel.
So then, for no apparent reason, to get back to Poochie for a minute, there is a scene where Poochie and BJ Novak, who I believe is the one that was Rue McClanahan's real husband.
We can only speculate.
Just scream at each other for a few minutes, like the microphones are peaking. She's holding a junkyard cat, which I actually thought was kind of a fun detail.
Because it reminded me of her cat, the Care for Cats video. It's probably where it all started. You know what I mean? Like this is where her
love for cats began.
This is where her love for cats began. She was like, I first fell in love with kitties back when I made this film. We don't need to talk about the film, but I had a cat in the film. That's how it started.
And I named her Poochie. Let's play this moment. And for all of you who listen to that Rusty Anchor Happy Hour, in lieu of a wedding photo of Rue McClanahan and Norman Hartweg, please take this photo as our offering, or this clip, because this is all we have.
You're gonna bang it off if you don't watch out.
Bang my head off? What are you talking about? I have 180 IQ. You got a deranged, stupid mentality, and you couldn't even make a living ironing shirts. But I don't have to stay here.
Kid, you shouldn't feel sorry because you wrecked your head and everything.
Look, are you gonna get out of here? You going away from that pimp, Harry?
I don't know why you're mad at me.
I'm not mad at you. Listen, do you think I have to take narcotics and stimulants? You think I have to depend on other people? I don't have to do that.
I don't want to stand out here yelling. You don't bang your head no more. I'm gonna go over and take a little rest.
There's nothing I love more than men screaming at women that they have 180 IQ and could like totally be way more successful if they just wanted to.
I know. I mean, he was, now I understand the divorce, because he was a bad actor. Like,
he was at a 10 this entire movie.
Oh my God. It was so like, who's the guy from the Artist movie? You know, the artist, yeah, whatever his name was. I forget the guy's
you're talking
name.
about Tommy Wiseau.
Yes. He's giving that, but not as cool.
Well, Tommy Wiseau also made choices that made no sense.
Yeah, but like,
you know what I mean? Like,
this guy also doesn't make sense.
He's just yelling. At least Tommy Wiseau has a little bit of like, oh, hi, doggy. How was your day? Okay, bye. Nice flowers. Thanks for the ride. Like, you're like, what? I would never make those choices. This guy's just yelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do love this next clip that we have coming up later in this scene, I think, right? It's all blending together at this point.
I know. Wait, is this the one where Blowhard is yelling at and Poochie are yelling at each other?
Was that Blower? I'm confusing them all.
I know. Yeah. I'm telling you, all of the men look alike. There was a moment where I was like, wait, which one's the junkyard owner? Which one's Ben? Which one's the investigator?
And none of it matters. None of it matters. But like the one that she spun in the chair with, I like that.
Yeah, that was
scene.
Blowhard.
Okay, then I like that one.
Okay, well, we'll just play that scene. They're just, again, I don't know, like, they have not established these relationships. Like, that was the first time we saw Poochie and BJ Novak together.
Yeah.
This is the first time we see Poochie and Blowhard together. But they're having these screaming matches as if we are already invested in their relationships. I'm like, I don't know why you're yelling. I don't know why you're yelling at each other. What's going on?
You can tell in this next clip that, like, this was their cinematic moment. This is the one where the director was like, you know what? I'm going to try today. I'm going to do something today. And I'm going to do like an angle that's like, it's going to be what people know me for. And like, it's just going to be my thing. And because it shifted so quickly from like,
I know exactly
the normal fights that we're used to seeing to art.
Yeah. Art. Okay. Play the clip and then we're going to talk about what this art is.
Okay.
I don't hang around for Harry. I just stay here.
Don't you know what you do? Why don't you go out of here?
I've been every place there is, so I just stay here.
I got my own angles. I done all right. Like when they was going to take me in the army, I told them, I smoke tea. No sweat there. What is a big man? He don't punch no time clock, that's all. I done all right.
You was mad at me. And you got drunk and told me about all the times you had a girl. 4 of you in a car when you was in the army. Then in Honolulu. How about that what you did? Did you have to be waiting like a dog?
What's the matter with you? Stop it, for God's sake! What's the matter?
I loved you and you told me that. Like animals. That I was an animal, what you wanted me for.
Damn it, cut it out! You're crazy! Like Harry watching!
My hair is the representation of that scene. It was Rue McClanahan just being on that chair being like, you're an animal! You're an animal! My hair's a mess and that's how I'm showing you I'm distressed. You're an animal!
And so this sort of like, for those who are not watching the video version right now, which you absolutely should, so he's sitting in a chair and she like jumps on it and now they're spinning as they're screaming at each other. And then there's like a camera that's placed on their bodies that's like just tracking at them as they're spinning.
It's art, Kerri. It's
art. Yeah. It was interesting. I'll give him that. I was like, oh, okay.
It made me watch. It made me be like, oh, like it made me have a moment, and then I started to laugh. Like I was at first, I was oh yeah, we're back to it. Like it like it kind of like it was art.
There was just so much yelling in this movie.
So
much yelling, and the microphone,
it was like,
the sound was peaking constantly.
It's like a particularly flamboyant episode of Out on the Lanai. It was just so high.
We have never yelled like it was.
No, we don't yell like that. But I'm sure some people think I do. But like it was like never like this. It was like someone had. I feel like Rue McClanahan was probably being like, y'all know I've gone to acting school. I know how to. Do you want some tips? Anyone want some tips? And she probably the men on set were probably like, nah, sweetie, we got this. Pat, pat, pat. And then she was an actress and delivered a performance in this movie, which would be worth watching. But the others did not. They did not. Her and the baby were the only two great performers.
I want to know if Rue McClanahan was married to this guy before or after. Okay, so they were married from 59 to 61.
Yeah, so
and this movie came out in 63. So this was after they were divorced.
So or maybe wait, when did they get divorced?
61.
Well,
and this came out in 63.
This came out in 63, but
maybe they filmed it in 61.
It probably, I have a feeling this is their divorce film.
You think it's their divorce film, or do you think this is what they met on?
No, I think they. I mean, if they got married in 59, I think they met before this was filmed. And
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
and I have a feeling that this film probably after it was done and edited, I have a feeling that no one wanted to show it, and so it probably took a long time for it to actually get a release. And so, yeah, I have a feeling this was the film where she was like, "Bye. Here's the divorce papers." She pulled the J-Lo. The J-Lo and Affleck announced their divorce today. But she pulled the J-Lo and was like, "I gotta go.
Bye." And that's a wrap on Rue McClanahan.
I'm still Rue from the block.
Yeah, this movie, and then it's almost over is the good news, because then like I don't know, I was so tired, and then like a cop shoots Blowhard, and because he startles him, and as Blowhard is dying, not a single person in the room tries to render aid. And then I don't know if you noticed this, but when Blowhard actually died, like sexy, sultry stripper music was playing. I was like, I don't know, it's kind of fitting. He was an asshole.
Yeah.
And then Harry also dies. Like, then someone kills Harry, and Poochie's in denial, so she's cradling his body. She's like, you're good, you're okay, you'll just come with us.
No, Poochie.
Us meaning Ben and Edna and the baby, who are finally like, I guess we're gonna leave.
Yeah.
And that's the movie. The movie ends with Ben and his wife and his baby leaving the junkyard.
Too much. I'm sorry.
I think it was supposed to be like a character study of like all these interesting characters whose lives intersect, but it was just, I don't know. I couldn't follow it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was bad.
The film was bad, but it was an enjoyable experience to see the early acting days. This is probably the earliest performance we've ever seen of Rue McClanahan.
It is. Yes. On this podcast. Yes.
And so that in and of itself is a thrilling thing to watch for a Golden Girls fan who wants to explore the other projects, or the beyond the Golden Girls, if you will. They want to explore the other projects of the girls, which we are doing. And so I think it's a worthy thing to watch, but just maybe fast forward just to the Rue McClanahan
Just watch
parts.
the Rue parts. Watch the Rue parts, especially her opening, her first two scenes especially. Now, before we do Golden Takeaways, I do want to read a review of this movie that was on IMDb. It was somebody who gave it a 1 out of 10.
Oh, well.
And it said, the title is Promises Little, Delivers Less. Here is the review. Joe Bob Briggs mentioned how great Rue McClanahan, Golden Girls, looked in this early 60s exploiter. First of all, I don't know who Joe Bob Briggs is, but maybe somebody who people go to for like movie recommendations.
Yeah, you know Joe
Don't
Bob
believe it. There is nothing much to see. No nudity or anything else that would make an exploiter interesting. The storyline and acting are horrible, as one might expect, and it's very, very boring.
Yeah.
If you're curious about how the young Rue McClanahan looked, check out Hollywood After Dark instead. It's no cinema classic either, but at least it delivers.
Yeah. And just to give this review a little bit of a backstory. So exploitation
Did
film.
you write it?
No, I wrote it. Yes,
You're
that's
like,
me.
just so you know where I was at emotionally when I wrote that.
No, there is a long history of exploitation film or B movies, which this is definitely one of those movies. And essentially, I mean, I'm literally reading from the Wikipedia page here just to like give you some context. But it's a film that tries to succeed financially by exploiting current trends, niche genres, and lurid content, which when he says there's no nudity, it's because a lot of these B movies included nudity to get people to go see the movie. And when you're talking about current trends in the 1960s, I mean, it would be sort of like, you know, the sexual mores of sort of the day and like going against them a little bit and like kind of, you know, doing something a little bit more nuanced. I mean, I'm thinking like Elizabeth Taylor's Butterfield 8, which was about a prostitute. And like there were films that were being made that were exploring good films. I mean, she won the Oscar for that. So like there were movies that were literally The Apartment is a great, wonderful, amazing film.
That's a great one.
But that one also is a strange one for 1960 because it essentially the love story starts with an assisted, like attempted suicide. And so like darker themes. And so some of these B movies would explore that or exploit that, if you will. And this film attempted to do that in ways that weren't very good.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, should we take a break and come back with our golden takeaways?
I think so.
Okie dokie. Bye. Go. And we are back, with our golden takeaways, which is a nugget of truth or inspiration.
Hi,
that you can apply to your life or the lives of our listeners. Kerri, what's your golden takeaway from this film?
Well, I have a lot, but the one thing I kind of settled on is we didn't talk a lot about junkyard movies or movie scenes that are take place in junkyards. One of my favorite movies is Stand By Me. Stand By Me obviously has a very iconic junkyard scene where Will Wheaton is chased by a dog in slow motion as the owner yells, "Chopper, sick balls." Mm-hmm. I realized that junkyards have a lot of character. And I actually appreciated that this movie took place in a junkyard. I think there's a lot of really cool things you can do in a junkyard. So I would like to see more movies take place in a junkyard. I want to see a movie that takes give me a horror movie that takes place entirely in a junkyard. And I'm sure somebody in the comments is going to be like, "Are you kidding me? Have you never seen like Junkyard Teen Massacre from 1987?" Yeah. And I'm sorry, I haven't seen Junkyard Teen Massacre, but give me a horror movie in a junkyard. Because there's so much character in them and so rich with stories of all this stuff that people owned at one time.
I mean, horror movies set in just sort of desolate places in general, like deserts or like, you know what I mean? Like places that like there's lots of places you can go to, but also nowhere you can go. It's sort of that option that I think allows a story to be really rich. I love that golden takeaway. My golden takeaway is, I mean, one of the things I love about Quentin Tarantino movies and some films that he's inspired by, but also others too, is that he understands sort of exploitation films. His are more of the 70s, but he does have nods to sort of like, you know, like Jackie Brown is a great film that sort of allows a little bit more of the exploration into exploitation. But there's I remember I saw some retrospective on exploitation films once, and I saw something on like, it's called Faster, Pussycat, Kill, Kill. The description of this movie is bonkers, but to me it's like a great example of what an exploitation film is. Also, so many black exploitation films of the 60s too, or the 70s, which are incredible, and you should watch those. But the description of this film is: 3 go-go dancers holding a young girl hostage come across a crippled old man living with his 2 sons in the desert. After learning he's hiding a sum of cash around, the women start scheming him for money. Like that's kind of what it is, and it used sex and other things. But you should also watch like Foxy Brown and like, I mean, the Foxy Brown. Like, do you know about Foxy Brown?
Yes.
I mean, because it is just it. I mean, that's some acting. I mean, with Pam Grier,
I love Pam
incredible.
Grier.
She should have been nominated for an Oscar for Jackie Brown. She's incredible. She's incredible. So yeah, there are great exploitation
she was
films
in
out
another.
there.
She was in another horror, like
She
sort
was
of
in
like.
a lot.
Was she in Idle Hands?
Maybe.
Is that the movie I'm thinking? No.
I don't
What was
know.
Pam Grier in? She was in some 90s like thriller. I'll figure it out.
She's been in a bunch of stuff. She's great. She's great. She's wonderful. So yeah, so that's my golden takeaway. Go explore some of those and watch Jackie Brown. Because it's a great film.
A great golden takeaway.
Thank
well, everyone, this has been another episode of Out on the Lanai, your favorite trailer trash treasure podcast. Be sure to check us out at the GGVIP Club over at patreon.com/Golden Girls Podcast. And otherwise, we'll see you next week for more Golden Girls greatness.
Yeah, and you can also, we're a part of Mom, Moguls of Media, so go subscribe to Mom Plus, and you can also follow us on social media at Golden Girls Pod on Twitter, Out on the Lanai Official on Instagram, Golden Girls Pod on the Facebookals, and I am HAlanScott / Sadie Pines on everything.
And I am Squid Eat Squid on Twitter and Squidsy on Instagram. And if you also want to do something for the podcast, you can leave us a rating and review because that really, really helps us out. Also follow us on YouTube. Just look up Out on the Lanai and you will find us.
You'll find me looking so bronzed and beautiful. And remember,
Sculpted. As always,
stay golden.
stay golden.
Oh, wait, let's say it like her in the movie. Stay golden.
Stay golden.
Stay golden. Oh. Okay, good.
Out on the Lanai is not endorsed by Whit Thomas Harris Productions, Touchstone Television, Disney, or any of its subsidiaries. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only.
All names, pictures, audio, and video clips of the Golden Girls are registered trademarks and or copyrights of their respective trademark and or copyright holders.